welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Andy and I am Engineer for God. And on this YouTube channel I explain and reflect upon Dante's Inferno. Now, last time I had a video about the indifferent who are on the doorstep of hell, but I didn't exactly go into describing what exactly is on the door of hell, or all the other people that don't fall into the category of indifferent. So what happens to all the rest of the sinners? So today I'll be talking about that. Divine justice is the topic, because that is why hell exists. So, when Dante actually first comes to hell, there actually is the gates. When Jesus gives St. Peter the keys to the kingdom, he says that the gates of hell shall not prevail against the church. And what's interesting about that statement that once my dad told me once is that first when you hear it, you're thinking, oh, well, the gates of hell are not prevailing against the church. So it looks like evil is the one who's on the attack and we're defending. But if you think about it, that doesn't make sense, because it's the gates of hell shall not prevail, not the gates of heaven. So that means that good is actually on the offensive, and we're out there tearing down the gates of hell and defeating all the demons and all that. So everything works out good in the end, but for the souls who chose to put themselves on the wrong side, that is unfortunate for them. So, let's read what exactly it says on the doorway for those who are entering hell. Through me you pass into the woeful city. Through me you pass into eternal pain. Through me you pass among a lost people. Justice it was that moved my lofty maker. Divine power brought me into being, the first love and the highest wisdom. Before me only such things were created that were eternal, and I endure forever. Leave all hope behind, you who enter here. And the last line is so famous that whenever you see the gates of hell in any image, it always says, give up all hope, all ye who enter here. Very famous lines. But one part of that, of all the stuff that really doesn't make sense to a lot of people, is the fact that the gate of hell was created by none other than God? He's supposed to be good. So why is he creating the gates of hell? Why is he allowing people to enter into this awful place and live the rest of their miserable existences in there forever? I mean, people who go to hell, like, it's not just temporary. I mean, this is forever and always. So how can a loving God allow this? And the answer is because of free will. As it says in here, justice it was that moved my lofty maker. Divine power brought me into being, the first love and highest wisdom. So, out of God's love for us, he gave us a choice whether we wanted to choose to live with him or not. And those who chose to live with him are the ones that are going to heaven, because they're entering into his house. He opens the doors to anyone who wants to enter. But if you don't want to enter, you're like, oh, well, I don't have anything to do with God, I don't like God or something. Then you're just choosing the other door, which is the door to hell. So, really, it's our choice if we want to go to hell. He allows us to do that. And that is how he's being loving. He's giving us what we want. And as you can see in Dante really illustrates this point very clearly. And he shows that everyone that is in hell deserves to be there, even if they seem pitiful at first. There's a lot of areas where a reader who does not understand how Dante thinks can be thinking that he's feeling sorry for the sinners. Well, the character Dante does feel sorry for the sinners in hell. But the character Dante is only doing that because he himself identifies with the sinners. And throughout his whole journey, Virgil is constantly having to tell him that you don't want to feel sorry for these people because they actually deserve to be here. That's hard. That seems really harsh, doesn't it? But we are definitely called as Christians, and if you're not a Christian, you probably still think you need to treat people good. We have to treat people good in life. But that's while we're alive. But people who are in hell, they've made their choice, and there's not really anything we can do about it. So, divine justice. So now to get back to Dante, so when he enters hell, of course he sees the neutrals, the indifferent and the cowardly, off to the side. But everyone else is in a big long line, waiting their turn to cross the river. The famous river of the underworld, the Acheron, which most people get it confused with the river Styx, which actually is also in Dante's Inferno as well, but it's later. So I guess to give you a little bit background on the rivers of the underworld, the Acheron is the river of woe, where Charon, the ferryman, is. And of course Dante gets to meet Charon too. And this is the typical place where, in Greek mythology, where people are ferried across. Now the Styx itself is actually, in mythology, apparently what borders the underworld. So people in the land of the living can see the river Styx, but if they cross over it, then they are in the land of the dead. But in order to get truly into like actual Hades proper, you have to cross the river of woe, the Acheron. And so people are waiting their turn to cross this river, and when the ferryman comes, he shouts out to everyone, "Woe to you, base spirits! I've come to take you to the fire and ice and your punishments." And then when the people hear this, they don't have any sorrow for what they did, but they start blaming everyone in their life that they know. So they're like, "F you, mom and dad, F you, everyone," you know? And that's what you would expect in a hellish place. All these curses and a blaming of other people. But they, of course, didn't deserve to be here. And yet, they actually go willingly into the boat to be taken across. And Dante's wondering, why the heck are they going over there? I mean, why wouldn't they just refuse to go? And then Virgil explains to Dante that divine justice is a kind of force that makes them want to go to their punishment. Makes them want to go to their doom. So, really what that is that they are choosing their places in the afterlife. They have chosen to live a certain way in life, and this is what their choice is in the afterlife. So they're really doing this out of their own free will. They're not being forced into it. They're going willingly. And so the ferryman cruelly hits them with his oars if they're struggling, and he takes them across. But then when he sees Dante, he's like, "Get out of here! You're alive. We don't want you here. You need to have a lighter boat to carry you. Go away." And then Virgil sternly speaks to Charon, and he says that you have to let us pass because God is the one who's in charge here, and he's the one who wants Dante to go through here. And then Charon becomes really mad, but he has no choice but to obey, because no one can mess with the power of God. He explains to Dante that of course Charon wouldn't like him because only wicked souls have crossed this river, at least wicked in some form, have crossed the river. So that actually means Dante's good if he's hated by someone that is in hell. So then I'll get into a little bit of the lay of the land of how Dante's Inferno is laid out. So after you cross the river Acheron, you're into hell proper, the first circle of hell. First circle of hell is limbo. It's kind of, well, I have a special video on it, but it's for people who are unbaptized. And then you, in order to get to the real part of the tortures, you have to go through Minos. Now, if you ever heard the Greek legends, there's the story of Theseus and the Minotaur, if you recall. And King Minos is the evil king that is feeding the people to the Minotaur. So he's kind of this evil, judgmental king sort of figure. And in Virgil's Aeneid, he's actually in the underworld as well. And so Dante actually gets this idea from Virgil directly. And Minos is like this snarling, half-human, half-serpent. He has this really long tail that he wraps around people. And depending on how bad their sin is, it wraps around them more times, and then they get thrown even deeper into hell, because there's different levels, and the more times that it wraps around them, the farther they fly. And what's interesting about this is that this is kind of an anti-sacrament of reconciliation. Because in the Catholic Church, if for those of you who are not Catholic and not familiar, the sacrament of confession is a place where we confess our sins, and then through the priest, God forgives us. But in the Inferno, it's the opposite exactly in hell. People confess their sins, and then instead of being forgiven, they go to their eternal punishment. So it's kind of a mockery of the sacrament of confession. Everything in hell is a mockery of something in heaven. And so when he sees Dante, he's like, "Oh, watch your step, or you might fly all the way into the dark spots." And then, of course, Virgil has to put him in his place again. Yeah, same speech. God's the one who's letting Dante through, so you have to let him through. So that's another sort of threshold that Dante has to cross to get into beyond the first circle. And then, before he can get into the sixth circle, because the first, up into the first 5 circles, it's just sins of incontinence. So that's the sins that I explained earlier, the beasts that kind of plague people. People are weak and like are gluttonous and maybe eat too much or have sexual sins and that kind of thing. But those kind of sins are kind of ordinary everyday sins that people struggle with. But in order to get into the bleak abodes of hell, where the really despicable people are, he has to enter the city of Dis. And Dis is just another name for Satan. But when Dante gets to this gate, there are demons that are blocking it, and they will not let Dante go in. They tell Dante that he has to go all the way back up, and Virgil has to stay there as punishment. But Virgil's very persistent, and they still won't let him in. So then an angel has to come and break down the door for them to get in there, because the demons are being stubborn fools. But again, they're no match for the power of God. And so Dante gets to go through there too. And beyond that, again, are all the really wicked sinners. Starting out with the heretics, and then you get into fraud, and those people are like even worse. And then the traitors are the worst of all. So I plan to have a video on all those, so keep watching. And this video is, I guess, more of an informative one, so I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to explaining the rest to you. Alright, have a good day, and whatever you do, stay out of hell, okay? Goodbye.